Well, good morning, dear colleagues. Yesterday we have a very nice time over dinner in the evening, but now it's time to go back to work. So we now move to the first of two scrutiny sessions this morning, which will focus on Europol's role in preventing and countering migrant smuggling. We are joined this morning by the Deputy Minister for Migration and International Protection of the Republic of Cyprus, Dr. Nicolas Ioannidis, also by the Deputy Director of Aliens and Immigration Service, Police Captain of the Cyprus Police, Mr. Petros Siniou, and the Deputy Executive Director of Europol in the Operations Directorate of the agency, Monsieur Jean-Philippe Lecouf. So very warm welcome to you all. Each speaker will have around 10 minutes before we open the floor to questions for the JPSG members. According to the same procedure that we followed yesterday, 2-minute questions, 2-minute answers. And then please, both members and the speakers try to be as specific as possible, limiting questions and answers in the Q&A session to 2 minutes, so we have enough time for all speakers until we exhaust the list. The list will be drawn up according to the requests that you can make through the filling in the cards that are at your disposal. So with no further ado, I would like to welcome again Deputy Minister Ioannidis and give him the floor for his presentation for up to 10 minutes. The floor is yours, Mr. Ioannidis.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Co-chairs of the Joint Parliamentary Scrutiny Group, honourable members of national parliaments and the European Parliament, European data protection supervisors, representatives of the Commission, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a real honour to open this morning's scrutiny session on Europol's role in preventing and countering migrant smuggling. We're here today in Nicosia at the moment when the challenges we face across Europe are deeply interconnected. For Cyprus, illegal migration is not merely a policy file. It is a reality we've been experiencing for years and has exerted heavy pressure on our limited infrastructure. At the outset, I'd like to stress that migrant smuggling is not a side effect of migration. It is one of the factors exacerbating illegal migration. As you know, it is a serious form of organized crime that commodifies human beings, exploits exasperation, and deliberately puts lives at risk for profit. It adapts quickly, using encrypted communications, online advertising, forged documents, and cross-border financial flows. That is exactly why law enforcement cooperation and Europol's operational support are not optional. They are essential to an effective response of law-abiding states to criminal smuggling rings. Cyprus is a frontline state at the southeasternmost frontier of the European Union, in a volatile region. For years, we have shouldered a disproportionate migratory burden relative to our size and population. Over the last years, people seeking international protection comprise a notable portion of our population, way beyond the EU average, placing real pressure on our reception capacity, our public services, and our communities. At the same time, Cyprus faces a unique challenge: the occupation of the northern part of our island by Turkey and the existence of the Green Line, which of course is not a border, but should be monitored in accordance with the Green Line regulation. This creates a complex operational environment where we must protect security and public order while upholding our humanitarian obligations. That is why our government has devised a comprehensive strategy in order to address migration efficiently. President Christodoulidis decided to create a dedicated ministry because migration is a horizontal and multifaceted issue. The establishment of the Deputy Ministry for Migration and International Protection marked a turning point. It allowed us to set clear priorities, coordinate more effectively across services, and implement a coherent migration strategy. From the beginning, our approach has been strict, practical, and measurable. We focused on three objectives: reducing irregular flows, decreasing pending asylum applications, and increasing returns. These objectives are closely linked to today's discussion, given that smuggling networks thrive when routes are unprotected, procedures are slow, and the system is unable to enforce decisions. Let me briefly outline the core measures we have introduced. First, we've placed emphasis on external engagement to disrupt routes. We all know that smuggling routes operate where instability, poverty, and weak control create opportunity, and where criminal networks can organize departures unhindered. Therefore, our aim is clear: to entrench cooperation, support stability, and enhance third countries' capacity to improve living conditions and manage irregular departures. Second, we have improved surveillance at sea and along the Green Line in conformity with international law. This endeavour entails better use of technology, operational coordination, and targeted deployment of resources. When monitoring is stronger and responses are faster, the smuggler's business model is undermined. Third, we have intensified action against smugglers. In fact, Cyprus police have enhanced investigations, arrests, and prosecutions against facilitators. At the same time, it was indispensable to bolster coordination with our European partners, since these networks operate transnationally. Fourth, we have accelerated asylum procedures while fully respecting rights and due process. We hired more examiners, improved administrative processes, and have been working on digitalization. Where claims are manifestly unfounded, decisions are now issued far more quickly than before. Faster procedures reduce pull factors and exploitation, allowing us to focus protection where it is genuinely needed. At this juncture, it is worth mentioning that the forthcoming EU Pact on Migration and Asylum reflects this approach, namely stricter border controls and faster asylum procedures. The timely implementation of the Pact is a significant goal that we must achieve so as to deal with migration in a cohesive and effective manner. Fifth, we have invested in returns. When individuals have no legal right to remain after all procedures have been exhausted, they must depart. Alongside forced returns, we have established a scheme governing assisted voluntary returns, since they are often faster, more dignified, and more sustainable. Our assisted voluntary return program has been particularly successful, supporting thousands of departures and contributing meaningfully to restoring balance in our migration system. Taken together, these interrelated measures, external engagement, surveillance, smuggling enforcement, faster procedures, and effective returns, work best as a package. And the results are clear. Irregular arrivals and asylum applications have plummeted compared to previous years, while pending asylum applications have been decreasing. For Cyprus, this is not just a statistical improvement. It is crucial for easing the burden on our asylum system and infrastructure. Cyprus did not achieve these results alone, and no frontline member state can. The support of the European Union, financial, operational, and political, has been essential. Among EU actors, Europol plays a uniquely important role in turning fragmented information into operational impact. Europol's role is critical in gathering intelligence across jurisdictions, coordinating cross-border investigations, identifying links between cases, and targeting the criminal infrastructure of smuggling networks. This is how we move beyond isolated arrests and towards genuine network disruption. That is why we value Europol not as a distant agency, but as a partner that provides tangible assistance to member states on the ground and helps us combat smuggling networks. As Presidency of the Council of the European Union, Cyprus deems migration a shared European responsibility. Our priorities include advancing implementation of the Pact on Migration and Asylum, reinforcing the external dimension through whole-of-route partnerships, improving the effectiveness of returns, and supporting robust action against smuggling networks. We have been working hard to ensure that the European framework is not only ambitious on paper, but operationally effective in practice. Against this backdrop, Cyprus also welcomes and supports the European Commission's objective to enhance Europol's mandate. The criminals we are confronting adapt quickly. They operate across borders and across domains. Our capabilities must keep pace. Strengthening Europol's operational toolbox and its ability to support member states is a sensible and necessary direction, and Cyprus will engage constructively in that discussion during our presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, for Cyprus, preventing and countering migrant smuggling is not theoretical. It is a daily operational challenge with consequences on the ground. But our experience also demonstrates that when policy is coherent, when procedures are credible, when borders are monitored, when returns are effective, and when law enforcement cooperation is real, we can tackle criminal smuggling networks. We'll continue this effort both at domestic and European level during our presidency, together with the Commission, Member States and EU agencies, including Europol. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Minister, for your presentation. And now I give the floor to the Deputy Director in Aliens and Immigration Service, Police Captain of the Cyprus Police, Mr. Petros Senior. You will have the floor for up to 10 minutes for your presentation. The floor is yours, Mr. Senior.
Just waiting for the presentation. Dear Minister, members of the co-chairing, members of the European Parliament, distinguished guests, thank you for the floor. I'll try to present in practical, operationally, what exactly was mentioned in the framework of the presentation from the Minister of Immigration and International Protection. Illegal migration in Cyprus, the modus operandi that is followed by migrants to reach Cyprus illegally. They travel from different countries of Africa, Middle East, and from Asia, traveling towards Turkey. Afterwards, after traveling to Turkey, they travel illegally to the occupied part of Cyprus in areas that are not under the effective control of the government of Cyprus, or the Republic of Cyprus, either by air or by sea. And lately we had a new modus operandi traveling from neighboring countries such as Lebanon and Syria directly to the areas controlled by the authorities of the government of the Republic of Cyprus. After reaching the occupied part of Cyprus, either by air or by sea, they managed to reach the areas controlled by the government through the Green Line, which, as already mentioned, is not an external border, and it is provisions of the Green Line regulation provide the surveillance and the crossings, the legal crossings. Modus operandi followed by migrants to reach the occupied part of Cyprus by sea. As you can see, some pictures, vessels, ships leaving from Turkey directly to the occupied part of Cyprus. In this case, we had 131 migrants on board, putting their lives in danger, reaching Cyprus in order to apply for asylum. In 2022, we had a peak. It was 17,500 illegal arrivals on the island of migrants applying for asylum. That was when we considered it as a public threat, because we are in a neighbor that is a very hot neighbor, actually. It's a big number of problems, and having in mind that the the countries of origin of migrants, we had to proceed with measures in order to establish a safety and security of the national security of Cyprus and as well as the EU and Schengen area. So as mentioned in a communication from the Commission in 2020, globalization and free movement of migrants and digital transformation make our lives easier, but at the same time it increases the risk, threats in relation to terrorism, organized crime, drugs trade and human trafficking, direct threats to citizens and our European way of life. So we took into consideration the provisions of the communication. It concerned terrorism and organized crime, future-proof security environment, tackling evolving threats, and a strong security ecosystem. Just a few measures that we have taken into consideration: terrorism and organized crime, protecting Europeans from terrorism, combating and preventing radicalization, and combating organized crime. At the same time, we had to have a strong and European security ecosystem through police cooperation, information exchange, through PNR and other systems as well, the creation of a strong external border, and strengthening of security research and innovation. Time for decisions. 2023, decisions have been taken on a political level, measures and decisions by the highest political level of Cyprus concerning policy, meetings with governments of neighboring countries, other EU member states, strategic level, ministerial decisions on the strategic and meetings with the ministers of the government, and operational level from the hierarchy of the police and relevant agencies and police departments. Measures that have been taken, we concentrated in three areas: border control, including the surveillance at the sea borders, effective control at the checkpoints, entry-exit points, and surveillance of the Green Line as well. We have concentrated our efforts on dismantling illegal networks that deal with cross-border crime, combat illegal employment, which is a very important pull factor, and illegal residing migrants, and concentrated our efforts at the end on return and repatriation procedures. International European cooperation is something very important, as already mentioned by Mr. Ioannidis. We had cooperation with Lebanon, Greece, France, and Germany, and other countries, member states of the EU as well, with other agencies such as Europol, Frontex, Interpol, and United Nations with Unpol and UNHCR as well. We have operational cooperation with SBA police as well. So at the sea border, external borders, we have co-management with Navy, independent stations. We have a range of coverage, 90 nautical miles, and effective coverage of 40 nautical miles. We have terminals at a National Coordination Center and 2 remote terminals in Larnaca and Lachi. Effective coverage around Cyprus, a port, apart from a dead zone in the northern part of Cyprus. Concerning the Green Line, there are cross points that persons can cross towards occupied part and back. As you can see, Limnidis, Lefka, Stromeridis, Iosometrios, Lydra Palace, Lydra Street, 2 crossing points in the SPA areas and the Ring as well. Article 2 of the regulation provides that checks have to be carried out in order to combat illegal immigration and to detect and prevent any threat to the public security and the public policy. Article 3 provides that the authorities of the government of the Republic of Cyprus need to proceed with surveillance of the Green Line to prevent any illegal crossings. We have established a new subdivision in order to proceed with surveillance of the Green Line, so we can have a 100% detection of migrants that attempt to cross into the areas of the government. So we can follow procedures such as scrutinizing or screening procedures to investigations concerning threats. The subdivision is divided into 4 areas: Morphou, Nicosia, Larnaca, and Famagusta area. We proceed with patrolling of the area 24/7. Furthermore, we have established a new command post actually in order to direct and do surveillance through technical equipment in cooperation with the National Guard, so we can detect all migrants that attempt to cross illegally. We have established as well a new office concerning the dismantle of networks networks dealing with cross-border crime. The mandate deals with national security issues, public order issues, dismantling of illegal migration networks and cross-border crime. The mandate of the office is taking measures in order for the dismantling of networks, for the illegal facilitation of migrants, processing analysis of information, results of screening and debriefing procedures and issues analysis products, cooperation with relevant agencies, Interpol, Europol, Frontex, operational cooperation with countries of origin and departure. We proceed with risk analysis in order to identify, assess and threat the risks. All key players can be informed, policymakers, strategic planning, operational planning, immediate response, and resource allocation and readiness and be proactive and take proactive measures. The products that are issued, we have an annual report, monthly analytical report, weekly reports that include modus operandi, statistics, countries of origin, points of entry, and trends. The products that we issue, as already mentioned, daily reports. The new office, Migrant Smuggling Enforcement Unit, gathers information, does examination in open sources, JORA debriefings, statistics, awareness reports, and cooperates with other police departments and agencies, gathers information from entry-exit points and from the subdivisions for the surveillance of the Green Line, Islands and Immigration Unit branches, and afterwards, after preparing all the products, it informs the entry-exit points in order to be ready to combat, to prevent any illegal crossings, to inform the subdivisions so that they can be take such measures in order to prevent crossings, and the Islands and Immigration Unit is also the police hierarchy, and the ministries and departments, the relevant departments of the government are also informed. So since 2019, we have launched an operation in order to detect all migrants that attempt to cross into the areas controlled by the government in order to follow screening and debriefing procedures. We have Europol on board, Frontex, and the EUAA as well. We have a particular protocol that after the migrants are detected, they are transferred to Purnara camp, where particular procedures are followed from Islands and Immigration Unit with the support of Frontex. We proceed with screening and debriefing procedures. All migrants are registered. Fingerprintings are procedures are followed as well. Afterwards, with Frontex, through the debriefings there where we have cases and we have some issues that a migrant might cause a threat or reasonable doubts, we can believe based on reasonable doubts that they are involved in any terrorism, crime, cross-crime activities or organized crime. Europol is invited on board. Guest officers that we have with us on board follow particular scrutinizing procedures, screening procedures. After that, the referral are prepared. They forward it to Europol headquarters, where they double-checked on the databases of Europol. Nationally, all information are proceeded to intelligence services, to counter-terrorism office and the criminal investigation department, so we can make decisions in order to prevent any illegal activities on the island. There are many cases where we have detected some persons that are suspiciously involved in illegal activities. After some hits, we have forwarded information to Europol, where after being double-checked, cross-checked with databases, we have hits coming back to us that they are cooperating with other migrants in other EU member states. So now we are thinking about launching a joint investigation team. Cross-border crime, concerning facilitation of migrant networks, we have detected some migrants involved in illegal activities. Concerning the facilitation of migrants. We have established cooperation with Europol and Interpol and with third countries as well, where we managed to dismantle these networks, and migrants have been arrested and taken before the court. As you can see, after 22, we had a high number of detections and detentions of networks, facilitations of migrants, and after we can see we have decreased the number for 2025 to 9 cases, 18 facilitators involved in illegal activities. We have taken measures at the airports in order to prevent secondary movements towards other EU member states. We have trained our personnel at the airport so we can detect migrants that attempt to leave with forged and falsified documents and impose a case as well. As you can see at departures in Larnaca Airport, we had 276 detections during 2025 and 58 at Paphos Airport, preventing migrants by continuing the secondary movements traveling to other EU member states. We only had 3 or 4 cases, as far as I know, of migrants managing to travel to reach other EU member states without being detected. Taking all these measures into consideration, as you already mentioned, in 2022, we had 17,434 cases of illegal migrants arriving. And after all these measures taken and operational activities, cooperation with Europol, Frontex, and EASO and EUAA, we managed from 2022, 17,500 migrants, illegal arrivals. For 2025, we decreased the number to 2,444 cases. Furthermore, this is again the numbers. Furthermore, finally, as mentioned already, we concentrated our activities on return and repatriation issues. We have managed for 2025 to repatriate 11,500 migrants residing illegally on the island, out of which 4,478 were Syrian nationals that voluntarily returned back to Syria. Thank you.
Thank you, President for your thorough presentation. And now I give the floor to Mr. Jean-Philippe Lecouf from Europol. Mr. Lecouf, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear members of the European Parliament and dear members of the national parliament, I would like to drive you through what we are doing in Europol against migrant smuggling. For sure, it's a key crime area for the EU, so Europol has concentrated quite resources on this, and we are very grateful of your effort with the new regulation that you have concluded in December last year. And I will inform you also about what we are going to implement very quickly about this regulation. First, about the threat picture, maybe I will be short on this, but keep in mind that these criminal networks are very decentralized, but structured and increasingly global. They operate across the border and across the continent, and their leadership and key operatives are often based outside the EU. There are 3 domains that I want to insist on these networks. It's the exploitation of the digital domain. This goes from online recruitment of facilitator of migrants, but also guiding the migrants, creation of AI-generated forged documents, communication, encrypted communication that are used. So all the new technologies are used by these criminals. They more and more use violence against the migrants, violence against the police officers that try to intercept them, violence between criminal groups. So it's also a threat to our societies due to violence. 2 years ago, we had, for example, 2 police officers from Bulgaria that were killed in one of these operations trying to stop some migrants. And Then, last thing, why all of this? Because it's a profit-driven criminal business, and I will give you a very quick snapshot about how much these migrant smuggling organization can earn. Because you have here this map that is one of the maps that we have produced in Europol, with more or less the fees for smugglers that smugglers are asking migrants to pay, according to the routes, according to the mode of transportation and the services. These routes are have to be paid, as you see, between 200 euros to more than 20,000 euros for some routes. We see also in this area a growing use of cryptocurrencies to pay, but also plenty of system of Awala-like system, compensation system from one country to another. What is Europol role in this crime area? Well, we support, in fact, the investigation in migrant smuggling using a data-driven approach. That is to say that our cases are prioritized and developed on the basis of the data provided by the national authorities or further enhanced with our expertise. We facilitate this information sharing, coordinate joint operations with the national law enforcement agencies, and we try to concentrate on disrupting the networks systematically. It's not operation by operation, but we try to really focus on these networks. We ensure also proximity to what happened on the ground. It was just said by our Cypriot colleague. We have a targeted assistance to member states. We are deploying 60 liaison guest officers today in 11 member states. There are 5 of these guest officers in Cyprus today. We also cooperate with our people in critical investigation. The cooperation also is critical with Frontex and member states liaison officers that are deployed in this region. I have a practical example that I wanted to show you, this operation Grasmere, but I will not take too much time on this because for the sake of time. But this is an example of the case that we can support and that we have supported between, as you see, France, Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, and the UK. It's about what we call the small boats in the English Channel. There's another operation here, but I will go through very quickly also on this one. What I want to concentrate on is maybe this initiative, DigiNext, because you've heard of it, certainly. It's an initiative that falls within the framework of the Global Alliance initiative of the EU Commission against migrant smuggling. Today, it's an informal network that we have launched in Europol, DigiNext. Currently, there are 39 experts of OSINT, that is to say open source intelligence. These experts, representing 26 EU member states and 3 operational partners, what are they doing, these experts? They are trying to identify suspects' online footprint. They try to map the criminal relationship, pinpoint the key location of migrant smuggling, and strengthen this OSINT capacity by fostering a closer cooperation between all these OSINT specialists and investigators online. Why? Because most of what is organized concerning migrant smuggling is organized beyond the border of the external border of the EU. So we need to have a look on what's going on beyond our border. When the migrants are at the border and the smugglers, this is too late. In this kind of operation, as you see the results, we have identified more than 1,000 identifiers that were collected, social media URLs, social media accounts that has been referred to the platform in order to be taken down. So this is an initiative that will be, in fact, developed in the framework of the new regulation against migrant smuggling and the creation of the new center, the European Center Against Migrant Smuggling, the so-called ECAMS. Our executive director yesterday spoke about this center. I want to give you some additional information on this. Well, the creation of this ECAMS, which is specified in the regulation, has been approved, the organization, by our management board last December, as it was said yesterday. When setting up these ECAMS, our priority is to ensure better systematic exchange of information and coordination efforts with the member states, within the member states, but also making the full use of the networks of our member states beyond the external border of the EU. A lot of our member states have liaison officers in different countries throughout the world, and we need to get this information in order that in Europol we can make a kind of a synthesis. We want also to further strengthen the expertise in open source intelligence, so-called OSINT, as I was explaining, by developing this DigiNex network. We want also to develop financial investigations because they are less, and we still have the problem, and we will talk about it in the next session about financial investigation. We need to get the money out of these criminals. And we will welcome in ECAMS also liaison officers from Frontex, Eurojust, but also the member states. This new center will consist of two units, one operational unit replicating the existing structure of the EMSC, but reinforced with the additional resources to be deployed on the spot and to support directly investigation. And a second unit about expertise and stakeholder management that will, in fact, encompass data-driven specialists, data scientists, but also OSINT specialists and digital capabilities with, in fact, this regrouping of liaison officers from member states, Frontex and Eurojust. We will be able to build this new center thanks to the additional resources that was provided to us, 50 staff in 2026 and 2027, and 50 million euros that will help to build this center, but also to develop in Europol a key feature for the future and for today, which is the biometrics, the use of biometrics. The future is about the use of biometrics and the general use of biometrics. To conclude, and about the way forward, I want to insist on 3 points. The first one is the fact that we need to continue to provide a targeted operational and analytical support to member states and other partners, strengthening our effort to combat this migrant smuggling beyond the external border of our continent. Second, that we need to have a better footprint on the online dimension of this crime through DigiNex, but also through reinforcing the capacity to fight forged documents. And last, I think we need to develop the cooperation with other external partners, that is to say, third countries that where there's a lot of information that stands there, and it's a whole approach about these third countries. With this, I will stop. I think I was on my time. Thank you very much.
Merci, Monsieur Lecouf. And now
Thank you, Mr. Lecouf.
move to the Q&A session. And I will start by giving the floor to Mr. Tomas Martinaitis from the Parliament of Lithuania. Mr. Martinaitis, floor is yours for 2 minutes.
Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Lithuania really welcomes the establishment of European Center for Combating Migrant Smuggling as a necessary and fully justified step. I strongly believe that reinforced Europol capacities, close interaction with other EU agencies, and cooperation with relevant international partners will substantially contribute to effective, coordinated, and sustainable response to migrant smuggling. However, at the same time, efforts to reinforce Europol should not end with this initiative, as the current security environment remains volatile and unpredictable. In my opinion, Europol's potential to deliver high-level analytical, forensic, and technological support to member states should be fully leveraged, especially in identifying and responding to the growing hybrid threats. Hereby, instrumentalization of migrants at the EU eastern border is a clear example of hybrid pressure, where criminal activities, namely illegal border crossings and migrant smuggling, are being used as tools to pursue broader political goals. The European Union must keep pace with these developments and respond in a timely and effective manner. Therefore, in this context, Lithuania looks forward to the Commission's legislative proposal on the revision of Europol mandate, which should be sufficiently ambitious to address current and future security challenges. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Martinaitis. I understand that there is no question raised by you. So now I give the floor to our next speaker on the list, who is Mrs. Mira Nieminen from Finland. The floor is yours, Mrs. Nieminen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Several member states have in recent years, as a part of EU's changed and tightened approach to international security and immigration management, increased border surveillance and internal border checks. That is good, I think. But what kind of impacts does Europol assess these measures to have on the operating models of organized crime, and what kinds of entry models might be involved? Is there a risk that tightened control measures will lead to the smuggling or irregular immigrants shifting to new or more dangerous routes, promote the professionalization of such activities, or deepen their links to other forms of organized crime, such as money laundering, documents forgery, and violent exploitation? Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is for you, Monsieur Lecouf.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question. Well, it's clear that criminals are highly adaptive, so we have no doubt that in a way or another they will try to adapt to the new system that we put in place. What is clear for us is that this, as it was described in the SOCTA, the use of new technologies, the online dimension, and the financial investigations are three areas where we need to invest. Because in any case, even if they evolve in these three domains, if we increase our footprint, we will be better equipped to fight against the new modus operandi of these criminals.
Thank you, Mr. Lecouf. Mr. Laurent Bince from the European Parliament.
Thank you, Chair. And first, I would like to thank the panelists for their really useful presentations. I have two questions. Mr. Lecouf, Know that European Centre is only as good as the intelligence fed into it, and briefings regularly identify timely and consistent data sharing by member states as a persistent hurdle. Beyond simply waiting for national authorities to adapt, what proactive mechanisms or technical incentives will this new centre deploy to guarantee that the intelligence gap is actually closed? How will you ensure that this new funding doesn't just create more bureaucracy but actively drives real-time data flow from reluctant national capitals? And to Minister Ioannidis, Cyprus faces a unique and disproportionate burden on the Eastern Mediterranean route that is clear, where smuggling networks are increasingly sophisticated and agile. With the new regulation enabling Europol to better support operational task forces, have you already identified or requested a specific dedicated OTF to target the supply chains of smugglers reaching Cyprus? And if yes, how would you describe the benefits so far? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bince. Now, first, Mr. Lekov, and then Deputy Minister Ioannidis.
Yes, thank you very much for your two questions. Well, on the first question about the intelligence gap, as I was explaining, we think that through a better equipped center on the open source intelligence, we will be able to find areas where, in fact, today we have a gap, and we really encourage all member states to build this OSINT center in order to target what's going on the public, in fact, platforms, to recruit these migrants, but also to recruit the low-level smugglers and so on. This we will be able. We also have built this, what we will call the Joint Migrant Smuggling Action Task Group. That is the gathering of all the liaison officers specialized in this area in the ECAMS. It's a model that we have successfully implemented with the GCAT in cyber, and we think that with this we will be able to collect better the information, especially the information coming from the liaison officers of the member states that are positioned abroad. We know that France, Spain, other countries have a wide network of liaison officers put beyond the borders of the EU, and this information needs to come to us. Today we have around 14,000 contributions every year coming from the member state, which is big. So we also need to process all this contribution in a more efficient way, and this will be done thanks to the data scientists that we will have in this new center. And your second question was about the use of OTFs. Today we have developed OTFs nearly on all the main routes of migration that we have throughout the EU. Sometimes our main difficulty is to include in this OTF third countries that are key for this migrant smuggling. For example, if I take an example that will speak for Cyprus, for example, it's very difficult to get Turkey on board in this kind of a fight against migrant smuggling, as we know that some smuggling organizations are based in Turkey, and if the Turkish authorities are not cooperative, well, it's more difficult for us. Same for example, Libya or Egypt. We are trying to have a breakthrough. We have signed a working arrangement with Egyptian authorities. I think that we need to work with these countries if we want to help them to prevent, in fact, these migrant smugglers to organize their traffic from these countries.
Thank you, Mr. Lekov. Mr. Ioannidis.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question. Indeed, one of the most important issues, most difficult issues to tackle is how to deal with smuggling networks operating transnationally, and that is why I pointed out the importance of collaboration with Europol and other member states. We haven't delved into the details of the regulation, but as I mentioned, we will engage in the discussion. Of course, at the moment, for the next 5 months, we're at the helm of the Council, so we will be acting as an honest broker, and I will not promote any national positions, of course, but it's our long-standing position that Europol's mandate should be enhanced, and that's why we'll contribute in a constructive manner to the discussion. In terms of operations over the last months, we actually, the police have worked with Europol and police forces from other neighboring states in order exactly to address the threats posed by smuggling networks, and as Mr. Lekouf mentioned, got smuggling rings based in Turkey, which, as you know, does not recognize the Republic of Cyprus, so there's no collaboration there. So we depend on Europol and other member states in order to deal with these threats. And perhaps Mr. Zenia can say a few words on the operational aspect. Thank you.
Yes, very briefly, Mr. Senior.
Yes, thank you for the floor once again. As already mentioned, we have established the Office for Dismantling of Networks. We are dealing with open sources, OSINT. We have been trained by Frontex as well to go deep inside through open sources. And the modus operandi that they follow, actually, they announce that a vessel is leaving from Lebanon or Syria, for instance. We detect that. We gather information through that. We share it with Frontex, with Europol, so we can prevent the departure, so they can inform, and we can inform as well Lebanon. Furthermore, when a vessel arrives, we go through the briefing procedures so we can cross-check if those migrants arriving actually are the ones that had traveled to Cyprus illegally. All information are forwarded through referrals to Europol, where they are double-checked through databases. And there are cases, a big number of cases, that we have back. We have hits coming back from Europol, connecting people in Cyprus, migrants living in other EU member states, so we can have a clear picture. It's an integrated approach, a holistic operational approach on sharing information. And we have launched so far some joint investigation teams for shame marriages as well with other EU member states through Europol, such as Limassol Operation Famagusta, where migrants that have traveled use Cyprus as a stepping stone and managed to travel to other EU member states and through shame marriages. They were detected, detained, and taken before the court, and they are pending these days. So we have a great operation, and now we're looking forward to having another joint investigation team with a number of member states and through Europol in relation to dismantling an EU, facilitation network. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Senio. Now the floor goes to Mrs. Domenica Spinelli from the Italian Parliament. You have 2 minutes, Mrs. Spinelli.
Grazie, Presidente.
Thank you, Chair. The strengthening of Europol in the fight against migrant smuggling, together with the migration and asylum package, both point to a new climate in Europe. Greater attention is being paid to legality and internal security and to the protection of our citizens. Recently, at the Council of Europe's Conference of Ministers of Justice, following the initiative of Italy and Denmark, the need to reform the conventional framework has been stressed as a way to better respond to the challenges posed by the exploitation of migration. The need is felt today to strike the right balance between the individual rights of migrants and the very important need to defend the freedom and security of our communities. We firmly believe that Italy's strategy, pursued by the Meloni government, has had a significant impact on new migration policies and on the renewed role of Europol. Italy has led the way with innovative and concrete solutions, solutions that run counter to the emergency-based responses of the past and which tackle the problem from all angles. And we have set up the establishment of return hubs in third countries with a new regulation. In this context, Europol is called upon to play a central role. And I come to the question. In this regard, we believe that there are two tools that are most effective and that should be further strengthened. The exchange of information with other agencies, namely Frontex and Eurojust, and cooperation with third countries of origin and transit. Now, in this regard, I would like to ask about the current state of the protocol between Europol and Frontex on the exchange of personal data of suspected migrant smugglers. Let me stress that data protection must not turn into a shield for perpetrators of crime. Second question, have new partnerships agreements been concluded with third countries in order to simplify the exchange of information and prevent migrant smuggling before people reach the EU's borders? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Spinelli. Were two questions, I think, addressed to Europol.
Yes, thank you. Well, what we can say about the cooperation with Frontex is that we are discussing with, still discussing with a new, in fact, working arrangement to ease the mutual information exchange with Frontex. So we have made good steps forward on this. Nevertheless, the procedure should be compliant with the EDPS recommendation for transmission of personal data from Frontex to Europol, focus especially on necessity and proportionality. So we are on the good way. Nevertheless, we have not yet reached the level of contribution that we had before the EDPS audit of 2023. Our executive director gave the figure yesterday. So in 2025, for example, we received 40 debriefing reports from Frontex, as in 2022 it was 2,366. So we are progressing, but there are still some work to do. And your second question about the agreements, we have signed with Jordan, with Egypt working arrangement. We are still working with the countries of North Africa, more difficult, I must say. So we are trying to improve in this area, but as far as the exchange of information in both ways is concerned, is for the Commission to negotiate these agreements. And for sure, we have some difficulties because these countries don't have the same data protection standard that we have in the EU. So it gives additional challenge to exchange information with these countries. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Lecouf. Now I give the floor to Mr. Stavros Keletsis from the Greek Parliament.
Καλημέρα, κύριε Πρόεδρε.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning to all delegates. I would like, on behalf of the Greek delegation, to express our thanks and our congratulations, firstly to Mrs. De Boll for her productive and creative mandate and her contribution to the progress made in internal security issues in Europe during her term of office. As a country, we support the strengthening of the operational role of Europol in addressing migrant smuggling, and we support all initiatives for the establishment of networks and also the establishment of the ECAMS Center. We request a greater understanding on the part of all of you for migrant smuggling and your support and your decisive contribution to politically addressing migrant smuggling for these individuals and the traffickers, the facilitators who exploit their needs and vulnerability. We are located at the southeastern most tip of Europe in Eastern Mediterranean, as the representatives of Cyprus have said today and yesterday, and the problem is acute and daily for us. The Ministry of Migration of Greece has officially announced that today we have more than 3,500 illegal migrants seeking asylum in 3 reception centers in our islands in Greece. Of course, the purpose of these people is to move towards the interior of the EU, and in this effort they are victims of the facilitators, and they are paying a lot of money. Unfortunately, the lack of responsibility and the indifference of facilitators lead these individuals to death. Only the other day we had another tragedy with 15 Afghan dead people and many missing people, many injured near Chios, the Greek island of Chios, near the Turkish coast. We express our sadness for the loss of all these lives, and despite the efforts of Greek authorities through air means and through sea means, they could not be saved. The facilitator of Moroccan nationality has been arrested. You do realize that this is a pressing and humanitarian issue. We all have a responsibility. We need greater cohesion, greater responsibility and determination. My question is mainly addressed to the Europol representative. We would like some information on whether third countries are collaborating with Europol and the European authorities in general and in giving information and evidence on facilitators and traffickers to address these issues. If the representatives of Europol, in other words, are satisfied with this collaboration, and if there is room for further improvement in this collaboration and strengthening it through institutional and legal ways possibly, or through political means, consultations between the EU and these countries. Thank you very much.
Please, I'd like to ask you to watch the time allocated so all the speakers can be given the Mr. Lekouf, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for the Greek delegate for his question. For sure, there's a great work that is done by our Greek colleagues. I was myself in Greece last year to visit especially the island of Lesbos and Athens, Piraeus, on this topic of migrant smuggling, and visit our guest officers. So I know all that is done on this. But referring to the question, I think collaboration with third countries are going through mainly our member states. There's little direct contact of these third countries with Europol itself. They have contact with the member states liaison officers that are posted in these countries, and we have quite some information coming, but as I was saying before, I think it's an area where we can improve the exchange of information, maybe from our side, to better describe what are our needs and what are the needs of our member states, and on the side of the LOs from the member states, directly or indirectly, as it is mentioned in the regulation, to send us the relevant operational information in order that we can make the links and build, in fact, the intelligent pictures of these networks, and then we can act towards these third country nationals, giving them the information that they need in order to be more active. But in any case, what I think is that it's a whole sector approach, especially through diplomacy, in order to put pressure on these countries in order that they can help us to better fight these migrant smuggling networks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christian Vigenin from the European Parliament. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Dear colleagues, I'd like to thank first our speakers for the substantive information. Migrant smuggling and trafficking in human beings continue to be among the most serious forms of organized crime in the EU, with far-reaching consequences for human life, fundamental rights and migration management. The recently adopted regulation strengthening Europol's role in this area marks an important step forward, and it reinforces Europol's operational support, improves information sharing and formally establishes the European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling as a permanent structure within the agency. Against this background, I would like to put two questions focused on implementation and added value to Mr. Loukouf. Firstly, with the European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling now anchored in the legal framework, how do you assess its concrete added value compared to the previous arrangement, since it already existed in the different forms since 2016? And what will change in practice for member states in terms of operational support, coordination and follow-up? And secondly, cooperation with third countries and information coming from immigration liaison officers along key smuggling routes is essential. You, Mr. Loukouf, responded to a similar question to the Italian colleague, but could you please elaborate a bit more on the practical side? What are the legal or operational obstacles that still prevent timely and effective information sharing? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vigenin. Mr. Loukouf.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. Well, there's a lot in the regulation to go for the next step in the support of investigation concerning migrant smuggling. I already spoke about this housing dimension, the data-driven approach, but also about financial crime, about the money laundering that is linked to this crime. We have also the resources, because it's additional resources, so we will be able to step up, in fact, our support to the member states thanks to additional staff that will be given to this center and a better organization. I would like also to mention that we have also, through the regulation, get additional money to support the member states through grants, OTF grants and impact grants. It's 3 million more on each of these grant schemes that we can contribute to the member states. We will also increase the expertise of the center thanks to that. And once again, the fact that we will have liaison officers specialized on migrant smuggling coming from the member states sitting in this center will help for sure to be more efficient in that. The increase of biometrics also capacity at Europol is considered also como a facilitator, and with if we connect this with the interoperability system, the screening regulation that we will have possibility to have additional data through biometrics, through the use of biometrics for the center, for this center, but for all Europol, in fact. And about what you ask about the cooperation with third countries, in some areas, it's difficult to ask a third country to send us information or to take action if on our side we cannot share with them operational data. In this exchange between countries, countries like to be on a kind of win-win situation. And if you go to a third country to say, okay, you should send us information, but we cannot send you any operational information that can help you, well, it doesn't facilitate, in fact, the exchange.
Merci, Monsieur Loukouf. Now I give the floor to Mr. Gregor Fedorovich from the Polish Parliament. Mr. Fedorovich, the floor is yours for 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Relating to migrant smuggling, much attention is focused on the newly strengthened RMSC. I would like to ask about a complementary aspect. Europol has developed tools under its digital domain program, and Mr. Lekov mentioned about the DG Next program, extended to improve evidence collection in migrant smuggling cases and to support prevention. Could you, Mr. Lekov, briefly explain how operational these tools currently are and how Europol cooperates with member states and other European Union agencies, both to deploy them effectively and to further develop them? And what are the main capability gaps Europol still sees? And what support does Europol need from member states to close them? And at the end, I would like to thank Petros Zeniu for your presentation. It was very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorovich. Monsieur Lekov.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. Well, this DG Next is a network of experts working on OSINT. So the idea is to put together the information that they collect, because as I was saying, maybe a bit quickly, the migrant smugglers, they recruit the migrant online, they guide the migrant online, they recruit the low-level facilitator to cross the border online also. So we still have to develop this. What are the difficulties that we can find? First, it's the collaboration with the platforms, because some platforms, even if we refer the content to them, they don't take down the content. What we have done with terrorists, with the terrorist content online regulation, we don't have the same power. I would say the member state doesn't have the same power to ask them to remove this content from their platform. We have also a big difficulty with the encrypted communication systems. Some of the migrants are driven, in fact, through a system like WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal that are encrypted end-to-end. So that is to say that we don't have access to the message themselves. So this is a difficulty. And the last one maybe is the fact that there are so many information on this web, on this platform and so on, that we need to be able to use AI tools in order to try to find the little information that can be relevant. So in the future, developing, and what we are doing alongside with the Commission about the lawful access to data is one of the key issues, to break in a way when it's necessary the fact that they can communicate without having us sometimes in the middle, the fact that also we should use AI on this open source information in order to collect the relevant information thanks to the powerful and the power of the artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Merci, Mr. Lekov. Now I give the floor to Mr. Sakoni-Kanin from the Finnish Parliament.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you also the panelists of interesting presentations. My questions are a little bit related to questions that we already have heard earlier, so sorry about that. But as we know, migrant smugglers are well aware of the legislation and regularity frameworks of European countries, and they skillfully exploit loopholes in them. Could you describe to what extent data protection regulation hinders Europol's work in combating illegal immigration and human smuggling? Are there any additional ways in which regulation could be eased so that Europol could address these more effectively without engaging people's fundamental rights? And I also have another question. Could you describe what the situation is like in terms of cooperation and collaboration with authorities in Mediterranean countries from which human traffickers depart towards Europe? Are there any ways that EU could pressure or do better collaboration with these countries to enable migrant smuggling and help in capturing criminal networks? Maybe a bit more political point of view, if you may. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nikanen, and we have just closed the list. I give the floor to Mr. Lekuf to answer.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I think that data protection and security can go together. I don't want to oppose the fact that we have our data protection framework, especially at that time where it's sometimes challenged. I think it's needed. It's needed to have it, but we need to have the good assessment of the necessity and the proportionality in order that Europol can receive the information that are necessary to accomplish our task. Our legal framework on data protection is quite developed and cumbersome. We managed to work with this data protection. And I think it's needed to protect also the migrants and the individuals about for their rights. So I wouldn't say that data protection goes against efficiency. I think it can go side by side, but we need, and it's what we are negotiating with Frontex at that moment, to find the right balance on this. We are working on that. Concerning the cooperation with, for example, North African country, as it was asked by the delegates, true that it is difficult with Europol, but it's through the member states, we have also good results. For example, we know that some member states have very good relation with some of these North African countries. I have Morocco in mind, for example, that is doing more and better in fighting migrant smuggling. So the fact that from Europol side we may have difficult relation with this country doesn't mean that through the member states and thanks to the member states this cooperation doesn't exist. But we try to develop this, but as you know, we need to be two in order to that this cooperation can work. Thank you.
Merci, Mr. Lekuf. Now I give the floor to Mr. Yadis Gadi from the European Parliament.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two very short questions. Do you consider that the rich subsidy policy of some member states has a negative impact on Europol's work and strengthens illegal migration flows? And my second question is whether you are considering the suspicious role of certain NGOs, because we have seen people from NGOs in Cyprus and Greece, for example, being in areas where boats with illegal migrants are arriving even before the law enforcement authorities are there.
Merci, Lekuf. Probably Deputy Minister Ioannidis would like to say something about the issues raised by Mr. Gadi.
Well, okay, on the operational aspect, perhaps Mr. Lekuf can chime in. But I'd like to remind to everyone that the provision of material reception conditions is an obligation according to EU law. Our effort is to prevent abuse, misuse of those resources and limit the provision of such assistance only to those who are entitled to receive such support, and definitely our effort is to at the same time simultaneously to tackle smugglers, because as you know they make promises to irregular migrants that will get you to Europe, and there you can have monetary assistance and another kind of support. So I think on the one hand, we need to act in compliance with EU law, because there are some obligations set forth by EU law in terms of the material reception conditions. But on the other hand, we have to prevent flows and the function of smuggling networks in order to prevent abuse of those rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ioannidis. Mr. Lekouf.
Yes, thank you for your question. I'm not sure I have well understood the first question about the subsidies, so I will maybe in one-to-one can answer this question. About your second question, well, we are a law enforcement agency and we fight crime and criminal networks. So our focus is on criminal networks that are organizing this smuggling of migrants towards Europe. We don't consider NGOs as criminal networks as such, and when we see the data that are contributed by the member states, there's no suspect that are coming from these NGOs. Our target is those who are making money out of these poor migrants. So we target the network of criminals. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I give the floor to Mr. Chrysantos Avides from Cyprus Parliament.
Illegal migration is one of the most complex and sensitive challenges faced by the European Union today, with direct implications on safety, social cohesion and rule of law. For frontline member states such as Cyprus, this matter constitutes a daily and disproportionate pressure. Experience and targeted policy of Cyprus show that effective returns are an integral part of a credible and functional migration policy. By strengthening administrative mechanisms, making use of European tools and collaborating with EU agencies, my country has achieved tangible results in reducing illegal migration flows. At the same time, however, we cannot ignore the fact that illegal migration is used systematically by third countries. In the case of Cyprus, Turkey exploits migration flows through the occupied territories and by extension towards the European Union, undermining thus the common European migration policy and raising serious safety concerns. In this context, Europol plays a crucial role, especially when it comes in analyzing and processing data, in mapping networks of smugglers and support of operational cooperation between member states. At the same time, all our action must ensure full respect for fundamental rights, the European acquis, and the principles of the rule of law. Parliamentary oversight of Europol through the Joint Parliamentary Scrutiny Group strengthens democratic accountability and public confidence, particularly during a time where the EU is called upon to provide convincing responses to complex hybrid threats. In closing, I would like to ask two questions under the presidency of Cyprus in the EU. How does the Commission in close cooperation with the Cyprus Presidency, intend to make full use of the tools provided for in the new Pact on Migration and Asylum, especially when it comes to returns, external dimension, and the full implementation of the EU-Turkey statement to tackle effectively the use of illegal migration, whereby member states, frontline member states such as Cyprus, are being affected. And the second one, how can Europol, within the framework of its mandate and in coordination with the Cypriot presidency, effectively strengthen its operational and analytical role in documentation, preventing and dismantling smuggling networks, especially when these operate under political guidance or tolerance from third countries? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Savidis. We have Mr. Onidi, and then another one to Europol. Mr. Ioannidis.
I think on the question of the Member of Parliament, it's first and foremost a question of the capacity of Cyprus to implement the new EU framework, which is known under the Pact on Migration. And I must really underline and confirm what the Vice Minister presented early on. Cyprus has made amazing progress on all aspects. We are discussing migrant smuggling. We have seen Cyprus become one of the top 5 member states in terms of its capacity to return. One of the top 5 member states. Despite all the difficulties linked with some of the specificities of the country. We've seen Cyprus also decisively advance in its capacity to strengthen external border management, and we conducted a fully fledged Schengen evaluation in December in the country, looking at all aspects, from border controls to police cooperation and surveillance. We came to the conclusion that, again, Cyprus is one of the countries that actually implements all the aspects that are relevant for Schengen in the most effective manner. So I think we have a country that is ready to implement the full scale of the new obligations falling from the Pact, and notably this so-called new screening procedure at external borders that entails well-codified steps, as well as the new concept of border procedures, which is one of the fundamentals of this new approach towards asylum, i.e. making an appreciation of a person's credentials to get international protection at the border before the person actually enters into the territory. So I think on the side of Cyprus, we have a very, very high level of preparedness, which is an additional element of positive, I think, outlook in terms of also becoming a fully fledged member of Schengen very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onidi. Monsieur Lecouf.
Yes, well, thank you for the question. I think that with Cyprus, and it was very well described by my colleague, Mr. Zeniu, the cooperation with Europol is quite good to map the criminal networks. I will recall that we have 5 guest officers that are permanently in Cyprus, and a few months ago we have been able to, we were at 2 and we were able in 2 weeks to increase to 5 guest officers just in 2 weeks. We have the possibility to fund any through impact or OTF grants, any investigation. It was said that we are are working in building a JIT with the Eurojust, a joint investigation team, in order to support the investigation. And just a few 2 weeks ago, my colleague, Ms. Scott, was here to help the Cyprus police to develop their analysis system once again, in order that we can work with data-driven approach on the data. So I can say that we are very closely working with the Cyprus police on all these questions in order to map and to give to Cyprus government all the information that they need in order to conduct the policy that they want to conduct.
Thank you, Mr. Lekouf. And now I give the floor to Mr. Konstantinos Barkas from the Greek Parliament. Mr. Barkas, you have the floor for 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since yesterday, Greece is mourning, and the rest of Europe should be mourning as well. Another tragedy with the loss of migrants in the Aegean. For yet another time, the Aegean has become a grave for unknown people in despair. It is necessary to fully investigate this case so that we can all continue to defend democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, members of parliament, there are moments when the southern Aegean Sea feels abandoned. Greece and Cyprus, as countries of reception of migrants, feel isolated compared to the rest of Europe. We should not be having discussions that do not produce any results. We should investigate the issues, analyze them, and try to address them. Turkey is using the migration issue as a tool to promote its national goals. Europe should respond to these attempts by Turkey and not discuss with it when and how it can take part in potential EU programs. Europe must respond as a single power against the arguments also raised by the United States. So my questions to Europol and to the European Union as a whole are the following. How can Europol help? How will Europol help investigate the illegal migration issues and the illegal relocation groups? How will the whole of Europe help in practical ways the countries of the Mediterranean in addressing the migration issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barkas. Mr. Lekouf.
Yes, thank you for the question. And we were informed very soon about this drama in the agency, because we have our guest officers deployed then. We have guest officers in Lesbos, we have guest officers in Chios also. So we were quite aware of that, and we are side by side with our Greek colleagues that are investigating the case. Any support that they will need, we are able to provide. We just need to see between us how we can do this and what are their needs. But I can say, because as I was saying, I was visiting last September the Asian Sea and Lesbos especially, and met all the guest officers and the Greek authorities there. So we are fully connected with them and really ready to help. I think that financial investigations are also and remain key in order to fight these migrant smuggling networks, and we need to work to try to get as much as third countries on board on this fight. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Lecouf. And now the last speaker on this session is Mr. Carmelo Abela from the Maltese Parliament. You have 2 minutes, Mr. Abela.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks also to the speakers. My country, Malta, is fully committed towards the implementation of the Pact on Migration and Asylum, with national efforts progressing in close coordination with all relevant stakeholders. Like most of my colleagues, I do appreciate cooperation between member states and also European entities, and I see it as key in the management of migration. Likewise is the sharing of information, and I think building trust is also very much important, especially also among services, but also among member states. And also building confidence in the tools available is very much important. I also have questions that were already asked by a number of colleagues, especially when it comes to the cooperation and what hurdles are there in terms of not only among agencies within the EU. Europol and Frontex were mentioned, and I think we're talking about 2 European agencies, and it's important that the hurdles that exist will be minimized and we see more and more cooperation and sharing of information. But also with cooperation with entities in third countries, countries of origin, countries of transit. I can speak about the Central Mediterranean, so North Africa, Sub-Sahara especially, and I think a whole approach, one EU approach is required. Mr. Lecouf mentioned also the role of diplomacy. We know that the European Union gives millions of euros to such countries, and I think a whole approach is required. My final question, Mr. Chair, is about the NGOs as well. A colleague mentioned the issue, the role of NGOs. I don't compare NGOs to criminal networks, of course, but some NGOs are seen to be a pull factor. At times they also show their coordinates when they are, where they are in the Mediterranean. So up to a certain extent, it is a pull factor, and it is also playing in the hands of the criminal networks, I believe. So what cooperation, at least, if not investigations, but what cooperation exists between Europol and a number of NGOs? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abela. Mr. Lecouf.
Yes, thank you for your fair question and balanced. I would say that there's no, I would say, institutional cooperation between Europol and NGOs. These cooperation are under a clear legal framework, and this is the cooperation with the private parties. So we may have this cooperation under our regulation and the cooperation with private parties. For the time being, I cannot say that we have this cooperation that is developed with NGOs. As we are a law enforcement agency supporting investigation, I don't see also really the need to cooperate. I would say that even if the issue that the Maltese delegate is mentioning can be understood, I think it can be addressed, but not from Europol point of view. So I cannot say better on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Monsieur Lecouf. We have concluded this item on our agenda, this first session of scrutiny. Thanks to our speakers for their presentations and members for the questions and the contributions to the exchange. Now, before we move to our next topic on our agenda, on economic and financial crime, I would suggest just a 5-minute break, as we are running a bit behind schedule. That would be enough.
And you can bring inside your coffee and biscuits. So it's okay. 5 minutes and come back. Ξεκινούμε. Colleagues, good morning again. Please come back so you can start again. Προχωράμε τώρα στη δεύτερη.
We're moving on now to our second and final of our two thematic sections, which will focus on economic and financial crime and Europol's cooperation with the European Public Prosecutor's Office, Eurojust, Olaf, and AMLA. We are again joined by Mr. Lekouf, representative of Europol, and Mr. Onidi, the representative of the Commission. Thank you very much for joining us today. Each speaker will have approximately 8 minutes for their presentations. Before we open the floor to questions from members of the scrutiny group, we kindly ask both the representatives and the speakers to be as concise as possible, limiting their answers to 1 minute, both for questions and answers, so that we have enough time for all our speakers. Mr. Lekouf, the floor is yours for a maximum of 8 minutes. Ευχαριστώ.
Of the parliaments, European and national, well, thank you for the opportunity to take part to this session. I will present you what we are doing with the financial and economic crime, and especially the cooperation with the different other EU entities, EPPO, Eurojust, Olaf, and AMLA. First, maybe what are we talking about? Economic and financial crime is a highly complex and difficult topic, creating threat to our society, affecting millions of citizens. Money laundering remains crucial for criminals in order that they can benefit from their criminal business. Cash remain prominent in money laundering schemes through real estate, restaurants, other cash-intensive businesses. But also what we see is a technological and digital evolution that has made money laundering more sophisticated and complex. Especially, it's increasingly hidden through greater anonymity that is generated, this anonymity, by virtual currency, swift switching between different currencies, including the so-called stable coins, decentralized financial platforms, built on blockchain and excluding involvement of intermediaries, and also the proliferation of NFT, non-fungible tokens, and dark web marketplaces. Corruption is also an enabler and a catalyst in this crime. And last, maybe to describe the threat picture, the fraud scheme constitutes now the most rapidly expanding sector in organized crime, and especially fraud and online fraud facilitated by AI is at the top in terms of number of Siena connections that we receive today at Europol. what are we doing to fight this? In 2020, we have created the European Financial and Economic Crime Center, the so-called EFEC, at Europol. Doesn't mean that before we didn't do we didn't work on this crime area, but it was a decision made by our executive director in order to better address financial economic crime in a more concerted and targeted way, and to increase the level of asset recovery through these financial investigations. If we speak about this asset tracing and recovery, well, EFEC is working on this area. All that encompasses money laundering, corruption and sanctions evasion, including asset recovery, but also major and serious fraud, counterfeiting and intellectual property crime. It's all these crimes that Frontex EFEC is fighting. If we speak about the cooperation with the different other EU agencies or EU body, in this crime, a multidisciplinary and multi-agency approach among law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, auditors, control and administrative authority is really key to effective prevention and effective repression against this crime. Europol has a solid operational and strategic cooperation with EPPO, Eurojust and OLAF. They are all connected to our Siena and our secure network of communication, and we are initiating the cooperation with AMLA. Furthermore, I must say that we have cooperation also with the European Central Bank, because we have a dedicated agreement in the framework of fighting euro currency counterfeiting, but also with the European Investment Bank and also with the EU Intellectual Property Office. So this is only through all these cooperation that we can efficiently work on this topic, and it's very important to say that it's an area where the connection and the cooperation is really key within member states, but also at EU level, to be efficient. If I spot now on the cooperation with EPPO, clearly it's a success story. We can say that we are able to detect earlier and prosecute faster crimes against the financial interest of the Union. Especially Europol supports EPPO in the field of what we call MTIC, missing trader intra-community fraud, and VIT fraud, and also money laundering and corruption. It's really an area where we have developed a very good cooperation. I had some example of cases, but I will not take too much time on this. Keep in mind that this cooperation is a success story. If we speak about Eurojust, we have also a very long-standing and good cooperation with Eurojust. Our operational agreement was signed in 2010, and it's a key partner for the joint investigation teams and plays a key role on that. I want to highlight one aspect, which is this project that you see on the screen, ASSET. It stands for Asset Search and Seize Enforcement Task Force. It's a project that we have conducted where we gather different member states and organizations. You have all the description on the screen, including Eurojust, with to target, in fact, to identify, freeze and seize as many assets as possible on nominated criminals. We will have the next implementation of this asset project will be in spring 2026, and Eurojust is key in this cooperation. If we speak about OLAF, we continue the good cooperation that we have with OLAF, mainly on the topic of counterfeiting, excise fraud, and protection of the EU budget. Well, OLAF is an administrative body, not a law enforcement one, but we produce jointly some intelligence reports, like the one we have produced on assessing the threat to the next generation EU fund. We have also a stream of work that is quite powerful with OLAF on the sanction circumvention linked to Russia and Belarus and other projects. Last but not least, the cooperation with AMLA. We are currently building this cooperation with the Anti-Money Laundering Authority, and I'm happy to inform you that we have already kicked off the negotiation of our mutual working arrangement in January 2026. Just a few days ago, one of our colleagues was part of the board, of the AMLA General Board meeting with all the FIUs. So this is an ongoing cooperation that we are building at that moment as this authority is just starting. I want also to end by saying that we are cooperating also in the framework of the Anti-Fraud Architecture Review Working Group at the EU level, and we are fully committed to support in this area. To conclude, I would like to raise three points on the way forward. These 3 points are the following. You don't need the advertisement of Europol. Well, first we need to avoid overlaps. There's a lot of EU bodies in this area. We need to seek complementarity, but to try to avoid too many overlaps that create difficulties in working between agencies. We need to look also at how we can tackle the low rate of asset recovery and confiscation of criminal proceeds. It is said that it's 1% at the global level and 2% in the EU. We are twice better than all of the rest of the world, but 2% is not a satisfactory figure. So we need to increase this, and to increase this, we can call for the development of the new Asset Recovery Office in Europol that can provide, in fact, lawful pathways to access to financial intelligence that matter, especially banking data, payment trails, crypto flows, and the beneficial ownership. And last, I would like to underline that we see a huge development of online fraud schemes. We have seen that in Asia, for example, some countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, and Malaysia have established anti-scam centers, and this seems to be good practice, and from where fraud is combated from a holistic point of view with a kind of one-stop shop, and we think that the EU should have one of these anti-scam centers that can be in fact built inside Europol and inside our effect in order to respond quickly to emerging threats, disrupt these scam networks, and raise the public awareness on these scams. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lekouf, for the very, very interesting and to-the-point presentation. Moving on to the presentation of Mr. Onidi. The floor is yours for about 8 minutes.
Well, thank you, Chair. Thank you also very much for the very good discussion we had this morning on anti-smuggling. We really see not only the interest, but also the quality of the response that is being organized at European level, thanks notably to Europol. Thank you very much for this subject. I think the subject of economic crime and the support needed through different agencies is really at the core of the new approach we are developing in order to fight organized crime. The new approach being an approach that is centered around tackling what hurts those criminal networks, what hurts the individuals behind those criminal networks, which is essentially the financing. Second, it also is at the core of what the new Europol should be, with, again, some further opportunities to build on the very successful reinforcement over the last years of Europol's capacity to act in the context of economic crime, and very well illustrated by Jean-Philippe in the context of the new center and some of the new ways Europol has tackled these issues. For the Commission, our prime role is try to contribute in building up the best possible overall legal legislative framework in order to conduct those activities. I think first and foremost it is to take the most out of a new framework that now is in place in Europe on asset confiscation, with two very, very important aspects. And the rapporteur of this legislation, Mr. Vince, and also Ms. Kinichi are here in the room. It is a step, really a fantastic step in terms of changing the capacity in Europe to seize and confiscate assets, making financial investigation an obligation. Every investigation needs to entail now a financial component, which is very new. Usually it was some of an optional aspect. And second, also the capacity to confiscate without waiting for a full criminal proceedings to come to a close. Second, we will complete this new modernized framework by a proposal later in the year on rebranding the organized crime criminal law, in order there as well to make it easier at European level in harmonizing notably what constitutes the participation in criminal activities, which is in many cases still a fundamental obstacle in order to actually prosecute those criminal organizations and the individuals behind it. Third, it is very much linked with some of the key aspects we will want to see in the proposal for the new Europol. The capacity for Europol to work without barriers with some critical entities, and notably the agencies Jean-Philippe has mentioned, Eurojust, EPPO, and AMLA. We still have a few legal hurdles which make it too cumbersome for these agencies to actually work together in exchanging information. We need to overcome this aspect. We also need to provide further opportunities for these agencies to use their respective information in order to benefit from the global assets of what we have at our disposal in Europe. And finally, and very much in line with what Jean-Philippe explained, we need to be mindful in ensuring complementarity between the different actors. There is so much investment needed in this field. We cannot run the risk of duplicating some of the investment. And this is very much at the core of the reflection, for example, between the EPPO and Europol. We do not want, and EPPO doesn't want, to develop its own analytical capabilities, but sees Europol as the natural partner to actually do this role based on the systems that Europol has the expertise that Europol has. And I think this will be a very, very important marker, an important also signal in getting the most out of what each agency is capable to do. Same with the Anti-Money Laundering Agency. We fought very vividly in order to make sure that there was, from the very beginning, a strong organic link between Europol and the Anti-Money Laundering Agency, because the expertise needs to be exchanged, and all the expertise of the Anti-Money Laundering Agency in better understanding all the new technologically driven ways of laundering money needs to be available at Europol in order for Europol to verse this in the context of the investigation it is pursuing. At the same time, Europol also needs a greater access to the networks of the financial investigation units and more information from what the financial investigations units are doing in order to make the most, again, out of their mandate, which is to fight economic crime. Finally, we're looking also, based on the experience we've gained in the context of fighting terrorism, where the financial investigation has always been a very, very important vector. We're looking at the possibility and the need at European level to build up also better capacity to trace financial transactions. We have built up good systems in getting investigators enhanced access to central bank account registry, to traditional also financial transactions, but we failed to have somewhat of a comprehensive tool which allows to capture all the different ways of moving money, notably, again, based on many of the new technologies that is available. So these are some of the ideas that we are developing and some of the initiatives you will see coming from the Commission this year, which hopefully will further help the work of Europol, Eurojust, AMLA and others in order to be more effective in this field. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onidi. And now, dear colleagues, we will proceed with our discussion. I will give the floor to 2 members of national parliaments and 1 member of the European Parliament, alternately, to raise your questions. I would like to ask you to clearly state whether your question is addressed to Mr. Lecouf or to Mr. Onidi or to both. And I would like also to urge you to keep the time that we have agreed of 1 minute for each intervention. I will now give the floor to Mrs. Apostolaki from Greece. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will prefer to share with you some thoughts because the suggestions we have heard were quite comprehensive. So I would like to share some thoughts on strengthening cooperation between Europol and OLAF and EPPO, which is today more necessary than ever.
Crime is a real-time test of whether our institutions can actually protect public interest, democratic legitimacy, and the trust of citizens in the European institutions. Cases involving the misuse of European funds clearly indicate what is at stake. When such resources are diverted, the damage is social, political, and institutional. It exposes corruption, distorts fairness, and fuels distrust toward both national and European authorities. This is precisely why European-level mechanisms like Europol, OLAF, and the European Public Prosecutor's Office are so crucial. No member state can effectively tackle complex financial crime alone, especially when national systems are sometimes burdened by institutional inefficiencies, or even worse, corruption, when there is a lack of political will. while criminal networks operate across borders. Olaf plays a key role in uncovering irregularities and protecting the EU's financial interests at the administrative level. Identifying fraud is the first step. The EPPO ensures that crimes against the European budget are treated as serious criminal offences, providing independent prosecution, continuity of investigations across borders, and accountability that goes beyond national limitations. And Europol adds a vital operational and intelligence dimension through the analysis of financial data, the tracing of money flows, and the identification of links between cases and actors. So the cooperation among Europol, EPPO, Olaf, and in the near future, AMLA, forms a European shield for the protection of public money. Without common investigative tools and structured information sharing, fraudsters exploit fragmentation between national systems. With them, we strengthen transparency, accountability, and fairness across the Union. In conclusion, we need stronger, permanent, and institutionalized cooperation mechanisms at the European level. Shared databases, real-time exchange of financial intelligence, joint task forces, and clear operational coordination from the detection of fraud to prosecution. Only through such an integrated European approach we can ensure that those who misuse public funds face real and that citizens regain trust in the institutions. Thank you.
Ευχαριστώ, κυρία Αποστολάκη.
Thank you, Mr. Apostolaki. I don't know if there are any comments by Mr. Lecouf or Mr. Ronidi, or we could proceed. Would you like to make a comment?
Just, I think, to underline the pertinence of what the member has just said, I think Europol is an illustration of how to break silos in geographical terms, break silos also in terms of how to work across different authorities. And a lot of what we have discussed, I think, yesterday, this morning, in the context also of the reinforcement of the agency, goes into this way to continue to maximize the capacity of the agency to work with all relevant actors, private actors, public actors that are relevant for the fight against criminal organization. Second, very important that in building up agencies at European level, we do not recreate new silos. So very important, as the member expressed, that we ensure that all these entities actually have not only the means to work together, but somewhat of an obligation to work together in full complementarity and in respect of their respective mandates.
Thank you, Mr. Ronidi. Mr. Lecouf.
We are developing in effect a special team to fight corruption. We have created a specific Siena network for anti-corruption unit, and we are ready to support any member states in their investigation in this area. A lot of cases are also provided by EPPO directly to Europol concerning this kind of cases, like the misuse of EU funds and also sometimes also corruption cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lecouf. Please keep your time. And Mrs. Cimici from the European Parliament.
Grazie molte, Presidente.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, let me thank the CUF and Dimitri for their presentations and also for having recognized my contribution. Indeed, the investigation on economic and financial crime are of the essence if we want to successfully counter organized crime. And I say this based on my previous experience as a magistrate and based on the experience of my country, where 40 years ago, actually even more than 40 years ago, my father, Judge Rocco Chinichi, was killed in 1983 by the mafia on a car bomb explosion. And he carried out the first investigations, the first asset investigation. And at the time, he considered these related to full-fledged organized crime. And this is something that has turned into a transnational phenomenon. So if we are to successfully counter this phenomenon, as we heard from the speakers, we need cooperation, we need coordination, we need exchange of information with other agencies, but we also need experts in carrying out the investigations, because as we heard, these organized crime groups used a highly sophisticated financial system. So my question to Le CUF, from a strictly operational standpoint, what is needed for Europol and the Center for Economic and Financial Crime Center to become a fundamental actor for the analysis of data and to carry out investigations when it comes to organized crime, financial crime, as mentioned in the white paper of the European Commission on this matter. And to Nidia, I would like to ask from the legislative point of view how the Commission plans to attain this objective in its cooperation with Europol. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Timothy. Please, Mr. Le CUF.
For your words, Signora Chinichi. Well, what we need clearly is a better exchange of information between all those involved in this financial and economic crime, and especially the link with the FIUs are really key in this area. We also need to have. And it is in the new directive that we have a financial investigation each time that we have an investigation against any kind of organized crime network. Starting this financial investigation parallel from the beginning, from the start, is really important. And if we want to improve the asset recovery, I think that we have a proposal to have at Europol a kind of a EU asset recovery center. The idea is not to do what the member states are already doing, but to be able to react quickly, because now the money is moving in 1 second. In 1 second, you can move 3 million, 10 million from one place in the world to another one. So we need to be able to stop this money before, and if we lose time in asking for member states to do it, explaining the case and so on. So we need to be able to hold this and to freeze this money immediately. Then after we will explain, we will try, we will see if there are appeal and the magistrate can play their role and so on. But I think it's very important that we have the capacity also to stop the money leaving the EU in 1 second.
Thank you, Mr. Le CUF. 11:30 we have to finish because many European Parliament deputies have to leave. So please stick your time. Next up, Mr. Razmislevičius from Lithuania.
Dear colleagues, Today's challenges of international crime become increasingly complex and multi-dimensional. Europol is and must remain the central hub of European security coordination. For this reason, I firmly support the continued strengthening of Europol. The European Union security architecture must be also really on genuine inter-agency support. Closer integration of Europol with other key European Union agencies is essential, and especially in the fight against financial crimes. Effective cooperation and rapid response to cross-border risks are impossible without smooth and reliable information exchange. In the near future, we will have a real opportunity and to significantly strengthen the cooperation between European Union agencies. This will come through to revisions of the founding regulation of both Europol and European Public Prosecutor's Office, also through to renewal of the anti-fraud architecture. I encourage to seize the opportunity decisively. We would simplify cooperation model and clearly defined mandates and responsibilities. Modernized information exchange mechanism would allow us to...
Thank you. Thank you. Any comment? No? Do you have any comments?
Just again to underline that indeed the main principle is to further consolidate the role of Europol as a hub of expertise, a pole of competence, notably in these very critical areas. Second, as was just said, we have a chance in the sense that the reform of several agencies, including the architecture on anti-fraud at European level, is coming somewhat at the same time. So we really have a chance altogether to make sure that we further specialize and further also facilitate the mutual complementarity between the different actors in order to gain in effectiveness.
Thank you, Mr. Oniti. Yes, Mr. Goof.
Well, I will be very brief, but I think that it's really one of the target to not duplicate what an agency is already doing with another agency that will do the same thing in another field. And I think that Europol is, as a criminal information hub, is fully in capacity to do this work if we have sufficient information and sufficient tool to manage this information. And it's where we are coming back to the discussion of yesterday about the use of AI, the data protection framework that should empower us to do the work that we need to do, especially when we speak about new things like, for example, the blockchain, the cryptocurrency, where we have some debates about what kind of data protection framework we should have, for example, with public data that are in the blockchain. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lacouf. Next speaker, Mr. Diaz from Portugal.
In first place, thank you to the Cypriot Presidency for the reception and hospitality. Financial crimes has been associated with terrorism and hidden threats for years. I believe this link still holds true today. However, financial crimes also frequently appears linked to the explicit financing of external actors who pose a direct threat to the security and safety of the Europeans. For example, the money laundering carried out by Russian Federation for years to finance military actions. And now, my two questions. How it's made the coordination with the European defense institutions and NATO? Could these funds seized from criminal activities not be used to reinforce, for example, European defense? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. Who wants to answer? Yes, Mr. Kuf.
I will be very short on that. Well, we are, because of the situation and of today, we are increasing our cooperation with the defense area of NATO, but we are really at the preliminary steps on this. It's not that easy to work together on this topic, especially due to the fact that some information cannot be shared easily. We still are a law enforcement agency, and we want to stay a law enforcement agency. So some of our data should be produced in front of courts later on and so on. So this can limit a bit the relation. But we are working on better relation with defense institution and NATO.
Thank you, Mr. Lekouf. Next speaker, Mrs. Incur from European Parliament.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to our speakers. First and foremost, I just wanted to say that it would have been interesting also to hear a bit about CEPOL's work, since they are the EU body focusing on law enforcement trainings and connecting practitioners, also so that it is the different regulations are being implemented in the same way all across our member states. But my first question is the current cooperation framework between Europol, between EPPO, between Eurojust, OLAF and AMLA sufficient to address, as you also explained, the challenges and the new challenges where money flows very, very fast in a way where we are not used to? The second is organized crime sometimes act as they are any normal part of the society, which they are of course not. And we need to join our forces in order to both prevent and combat organized crime. But they even start companies in our different member states as part of money laundering. And as we also know, over 70% of the gangs are active in at least 3 countries in parallel. So how does the cooperation look like to alert the different member states on activities of organized crime? Because right now these gangs can start a company in one member state and then they are forced to close down or even prosecuted, but they continue as business as usual in other member states. I mean, we cannot let the organized crime be always a step ahead of us. We need to take control and always be steps ahead of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Incur. Maybe Mr. Rodini.
Thank you. But I think the example that was just mentioned is another illustration how important it is to further consolidate and harmonize some of the key principles and definitions in our criminal law. If we want to be more effective in hitting those criminal organizations that penetrate the legal economy, playing the difference of legislation from one member state to another, we need to further harmonize. And this is the object of a proposal we will put to your attention this year. Second, there are still impediments for fully exploiting the complementarity, but also the capacity to actually work between the different actors that you mentioned. And the proposal on Europol, the proposal on Eurojust, the proposal on EPPO will also seek to make sure that we actually lift these obstacles. It starts with simple things such as the full capacity to exchange information, to other more sophisticated things in defining somewhat the obligation also to share some of the information and to qualify also how the chain is organized from the investigative aspect to the judiciary aspect, how to make the best use from the operational task forces, for example, and in a subsequent step, the joint investigation teams in order to maximize the use of the instruments that are available.
Thank you, Mr. Onidi. Yes, Mr. Lac.
Yes, very briefly, but I think the question is relevant. We have raised the awareness of all member states and through some specific reports about the infiltration of legal economy by the criminal networks. It's in the SOCTA. We have a specific report on this. It's in the most frightening criminal networks. So I think now the awareness is quite here among the responsible. But not everything can be done through the law enforcement. You have also an administrative approach. Italy has developed a lot this approach, administrative, to have checks on companies and so on. So I think it's also the role not only of Europol, but all member states in their control on companies, on business, and so on, to make this administrative approach really efficient in order to also prevent that the organized crime is infiltrating the legal business.
Thank you, Mr. Lekouf. And now, floor is for Mr. Myrianthous from Cyprus.
Κύριε Πρόεδρε, αγαπητοί.
Co-chairs, dear colleagues, financial and economic crime is evolving and ever-changing as the technology is being developed. However, it constitutes a direct attack on public money, law-abiding citizens, and honest businesses. If the criminals can move money faster than we can collaborate to deal with it, then they will always be one step ahead. Because the political choice is clear. Either financial crime remain high profit and low risk, or we will make it high risk and low reward with strong safeguards, democratic control, and tangible results for citizens. That is why the chain of cooperation between Europol, the EPPO, Eurojust, OLAF, and AMLA must work in practice. I would like to ask the Europol representative the following questions. Firstly, regarding the impact, over the last 12 months, in approximately how many financial crime cases has Europol provided support in the context of structured cooperation with the EPO, Eurojust, or OLAF, and what were the specific results in terms of prosecutions initiated and assets frozen? Secondly, regarding obstacles, in which points is this cooperation presenting malfunctions, whether in terms of legal obstacles, technical interoperability, or gaps in the data provided by member states, and what changes are needed to improve the speed and operational value of Europol? Also to the European Commission, two brief questions. I'm sorry, Mr. Myrianthous, but I have to cut you off. Thank you. Mr. Lekouf.
Our cooperation with EPPO, as I was saying, is very good. We are involved roughly every year around 100 investigations with EPPO. I must say that these investigations are not the simple one. They are always with a certain level of complication. I think last year it was around 80 investigations that we were supported for EPPO and member states. It's each time difficult cases, but it brings a lot of results. I was not able, because of time, to present the result, for example, of an operation that is called Admiral, where we had millions of euros that were seized by EPPO. So I think it's working well. For sure, well, the resources are the limit. At some point, we can provide support, but our people, it's not a big team. All the effect is about 80 staff, so we cannot do miracles with 80 staff. About the cooperation and the exchange of information, your second question, I think that, well, trust is really key. So we need to be in a trusted environment. That is to say that we need to be able to exchange information that are relevant, but at the same time that protect also the owner of the information. I think it's a key principle if we want to get the information itself. Somebody who has an information will share the information with you only if he has an interest in sharing. So we need to show this interest, and we need to build on the trust that the partner is giving to you by giving his information to you and to make the best use of this. We are working on this, but as you know, trust is creating drop by drop and is living liter by liters. So we work on this trust.
Ευχαριστώ κύριε Λεκούφ. Επόμενη ομιλήτρια η κυρία Καλτσουράντ από το Ευρωκοινοβούλιο.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd also like to thank both presenters, and very much fraud and online fraud are becoming more and more significant in nowadays world, and maybe I would even say that they're especially acute in member states with highly developed online services. So they do not often need any very special schemes. People are voluntarily giving their data, giving their security codes, so it's really very widespread. I listened carefully when you mentioned the possibility of creating anti-scam center and the experience that you've seen in Singapore and other countries. So my question is, we need to react now and quickly. I know that whatever center will take time. You have discussed it with the member states, so I'll be very grateful if Mr. Lecouf could elaborate how do you see the starting of that center, what is the reaction of member states, and what can be done today and immediately. Thank you.
Well, we are building on that. It's not because we have the idea that we don't do anything. Today we have a network which is called EFIP, European Financial, well, I can't remember the acronym, sorry. The European Financial Intelligence Public-Private Partnership, where we have different entities, FIUs, banks, and so on, where we exchange information on this. The idea is to raise the awareness on the new fraud schemes that we have seen, or that member states have seen, or that the bank authority have seen, in order to raise the awareness of everybody. So this can be a kind of a little start of this anti-scam center. But what we need, I think, and it's where the regulation could help us, is that really we are considered as the focal point in the EU, that all the scams, the new scams that are detected can be sent to us, that we can make any adjustment that are needed in the banking system, in the online platform, and so on, to prevent this scam to happen. It's about also fighting the criminals that are building this online fraud, but it's also a prevention, trying not to inform sufficiently the citizens, but also the companies about the fraud schemes, and that we are aware to fill the gaps, in fact, and to I would say, build a wall in order that the criminals cannot enter this way. So I think we are starting working on that, but we need time, and we need also the proper legal framework to be able to do that at the scale of the EU.
Thank you, Mr. Lakouf. Our next speaker is from Hungary, Mr. Barkocsi, if I have pronounced this correctly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Facing our country are the same as those facing the EU as a whole. Hungary considers combating financial and economic crime a priority. At EU level, we consider joint impact actions to be one of the most effective tools, and therefore adequate funding for these is essential. We welcome Europol's central supporting role in the fight against financial and economic crime on the EU level. So my question is to Mr. Lakov, how you can solve the exchange of best practices among different agencies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barkocsi. And comment, Mr. Lakouf.
Yes, thank you for your question. Well, we have exchange, as I was describing, with the different EU bodies. Well, very close, I was saying, with Eurojust and EPPO, and building this relation with AMLA today, and with Olaf is long-standing. So we exchange this information, we write reports together in order to raise the awareness.
Thank you, Mr. Lakouf. Last speaker, Mrs. Asila from...
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. So it's Asita. Thank you. So I would like to thank you for your highlighting of this important topic. You have both underlined the need to overcome the legal and procedural obstacles that still limit information exchange between Europol and key partners such as EPPO, Eurojust, Olaf, and AMLA. So I have two questions. First, from Europol's perspective, operational perspective, which obstacles are the most problematic in day-to-day investigation, and how do you expect the upcoming legislative proposal to help resolve them? And second question, Mr. Onidi, this is from the Commission side. How do you intend to ensure that this new cooperation mechanism remain fully workable while respecting national competencies and judicial safeguards and helping Europol achieve the goals? Thank you.
Well, I would say that the main difficulty is linked to the fact that we are supporting investigation. So we need to collect the data, sometimes that are not linked in an investigation. And our legal framework, especially concerning data protection and this data subject categorization, can be sometimes a hurdle that we need to overcome, because we have the data without linking this data with a direct investigation or direct criminal. But this data will be useful for one of our investigation, but we don't know at the beginning. The beginning, we just have the data and we don't know. So I think that this can be solved legally, and then, as I was saying, we need to build the trust between agencies to do that.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ, κύριε Λεκούφ. Κάπου εδώ ολοκληρώσαμε και το δεύτερο και τελευταίο.
We have finished this last part of our meeting. It's 11:29. We have proved that we can do a marathon and a race at the same time. Before giving the speech to Mr. Zarzalejos for his concluding comments, we are changing a small change because my colleagues from Ireland have to leave now for the airport. Ireland is presiding for the following semester. I'm giving Mr. McCarthy for a 1-minute presentation on the priorities of the Irish presidency.
Thank you, Dimitris, and thank you to our Cypriot hosts for organising what I think has been an excellent conference, and certainly you have set a very high standard. For the next scrutiny group, we will be in Brussels, and I look forward to co-chairing with Javier. And at that point, in terms of the Irish presidency, we're very much looking forward to a busy 6 months. The government will be outlining their priorities for that in June, but they're going to broadly align with the priorities of the European Council strategic agenda that was agreed in 2024. From a Parliament perspective, while we won't be hosting the scrutiny group meetings, we do look forward to welcoming the COSAC chairpersons meeting and the COSAC plenary, the Interparliamentary Conference on Stability, Economic Coordination and Governance, and the Interparliamentary Conference on the Common Foreign and Security Policy and the Common Security and Defence Policy. So lots of opportunities for parliamentarians to come to Ireland, and you are all very welcome. We'll also be organising 2 thematic conferences from a Parliament's perspective. The decision on what those thematic areas will be is actually being made today. I don't know if it's because I will be absent and others want to ensure that their priorities are selected, but whatever the reason, we look forward to all of you if you get the opportunity to be in Ireland during our presidency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. We do look forward to your presidency as well. And now I will give the floor to Mr. Archalechos for his own concluding remarks. Mr. Archalechos.
Thank you, Dimitris. Well, first of all, thank to our hosts, the Cyprus Parliament and the Presidency of the Council. Thanks to the organizing teams, we have been taken care of extremely well. The technical staff, the Parliament Secretariat of the group, the interpreters, all of them make our work possible. And let me add a special thanks to Diana Siuce. She's been a member of the group secretariat from the very beginning of this group, from its creation. She's been a pillar of our working in this joint scrutiny group, and she's leaving the group secretariat. So we really appreciate all the work that she's been doing with us, and wish you every success. I really think that this 18th joint scrutiny Joint Parliamentary Scrutiny Group has been particularly fruitful. We have discussed an agenda that includes all the, I would say, the relevant challenges to the EU internal security. We have discussed the way we are responding to them in this landscape of evolving threats, and how we can develop the full potential of our tools and instruments to cooperate in dealing with these threats. I just would like to underscore 2 ideas. First, that these are pressing times for us. These are times to deliver. And then we need to materialize our response to those challenges into meaningful and workable legislation, into effective strategies, better cooperation, more resources. We need to do more, and we need to do better. And the second idea is that the scale of the challenge is so enormous that if we want to deliver, if we want to succeed, European institutions and agencies, national institutions and agencies must be aligned in a shared purpose. 2 important events are going to happen under the Cyprus presidency that proves this need for an alignment in this common purpose. First, the coming into force of the Migration and Asylum Pact, and that is going to be I would say, a crucial test to our credibility. And the other important development will be the Commission proposal for a new Europe regulation as a cornerstone of a stronger internal security architecture. I think that we can build on the broad consensus and rising awareness on the need to cooperate, on the need to share, on the need to exchange. And this discussion and the exchanges that we have bringing together European Parliament, national parliaments, the Council, the Commission, the agencies, and Europol particularly, show that we are, in my opinion, in the right direction. So we shouldn't be diverted from this shared commitment. Thanks again to our hosts, and we will continue working hard for the interest of the European citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, dear co-chair, Mr. Gargalejos. I would also like to thank all of you for your presence, and especially you, Mr. Co-Chair, for your contribution, and also the European Parliament for co-organizing this meeting. We do hope that you have had a wonderful 2 days. Of course, we have not concluded our work. There's more to come a bit later. I would like to thank in particular the staff of the House of Representatives for the excellent organization of this 2-day meeting. As we have heard, the next meeting will take place in Brussels, will be held in Brussels in cooperation with the Irish Presidency, the Irish Parliament, on the 4th and 5th of November. I would like to say the following. In November, in Brussels, I concluded my speech saying inviting you here in Cyprus and saying that I have taken part in 16 out of the 17 meetings, and I told you that that one was perhaps the most productive one. But please allow me to say that I do believe that this meeting has been the most productive meeting, and this is a positive thing, because at each meeting we are becoming wiser, more productive, more mature. And I want to remind you that, Mr. Co-Chair, that this started as an experiment, more or less, to have a joint scrutiny group that would supervise an agency such as Europol by comprising national government, national parliaments and the European Parliament. The first meetings in the first few years were much more difficult than today. There were many issues of coordination to find the right balance. So we do look forward to an even better and more productive meeting on the 4th and 5th of November later this year. I would like to thank you once again for your presence. We do hope that you have had a wonderful and productive time. And of course, this is not the end. At 12:15, the buses will be at the 3 hotels to pick you up and to take all of us to a beautiful wine tasting journey in a beautiful winery. Thank you very much. All the best.